Jennifer Bennet of VolunteerMatch. Would you like to do a Tuesday tip for my Priceless Advice audience?
Sure.
What are your Tuesday tips for leaders of volunteers?
Hi, Dana. Thank you so much for inviting me to be part of your Tuesday tips. I'd love to share something today.
What are some tips for people who are just starting to learn how to do video tips or webinars to train their trainers to train their volunteers?
Oh, that's a good one. And I do think that training online or providing support and guidance through a Zoom call or a webinar is really a different approach than those of us who've been training in person, right? First of all, I will say, I think the energy level has to be dialed way up, all the way to 11. And people can't feel your energy the way they can in a room. So you really need to be more cognizant of how you're coming across. I think it's okay to be informal. I don't script any of my trainings. Of course, I have learning outcomes and I have goals and I have a framework that I work around, but I'm not just reading something off of a piece of paper, which I think really does not come across well when we're talking about training from distance. The other thing I think we need to be thoughtful about is that when we're working with adult learners, which most of our volunteers are adult learners, learning for adults requires a few more pieces, right? We need to be comfortable. We need to feel at ease and receptive to learning. And so when we are in this digital environment, we maybe need to add another layer of comfort with the Zoom meeting or the Google Hangout or whatever tool we're using. So we may actually need to be training our volunteers to feel comfortable on a video call first before we're talking about training them to do the work we need them to do. I think the last piece is understanding what can be learned in the amount of time that we have. When you're training in person or you're doing an orientation face-to-face, you can see when somebody isn't getting something, when they have a question, when you need to repeat something. If we're doing on-demand trainings or one-way conversations like webinars, it's even more important that we build in time for case studies or thought questions where people can reflect on their own and then follow up online or with email or even chat if they need more information, because somebody can re-listen to something, but you can never get more information out of something that's being recorded or is delivered in a one-way fashion. The other thing I would say that I think is important here is to trust that you are an expert. Even if you don't feel like an expert in the things that you know, you are the expert in your organization. So you may not know all the answers. It's okay to say, I don't know, I'll have to figure that out, or let me do some research and get back to you. But don't feel like you have to be, I don't know, the person that has every perfect answer. I think that authenticity and being yourself is the most important here. If you're having a bad day, if you are struggling with a head cold, or God forbid something worse, right? To just say, you know what, I'm a little under the weather, or I'm feeling super stressed today. A lot of things are going on. I'm going to do my best to deliver this content. People want to be on your side. And I think they want to be on your side even more when it's that sort of human connection that we're getting through a computer screen today. So
I think that it adds that human factor, that we're not work machines, we're not robots, and we're the expert on volunteer engagement in our organizations. And it's also important to understand that we're the best kind of casting directors, that if we do need to find an expert, we know where to find that person.
yeah. And I think too, of all fields, we are connecting people with passion, and we have to be authentic in that. And I think that while I try to do that in person as well. You know, I don't pretend to be anybody but myself, and I only know how to be myself. So it's good that that's who I want to be. But I think when we're talking about putting out that extra energy, putting out that sort of connection across Zoom calls or webinars, I think you just have to dig deep and find out like who you are and then put that out there. Because if you're trying to be someone else, if you're trying to put on sort of another persona, it's going to crack, and it's exhausting already. As I said, we have to dial it up to 11 to get that energy and enthusiasm out there. If you're trying to dial it up to 11 and be something else, it's not. Zoom fatigue is real, and we need to your point, take care of ourselves as well. And so those would be my top tips.
Top Tuesday tips from Jennifer Bennet at VolunteerMatch. Thank you. And